Hey everybody, welcome to IL2 Korea. So this new sim just came out, and yeah, some people are noting that it's CPU bound in some cases. So I thought I'd make a video about this special case where anybody who has what I call an asymmetric CPU, so anything like a AMD 9950 X3D, where you have one core complex that has a V cache on it and the other one that doesn't. It's important in those cases for the threads, as you see here in the blue, to get scheduled onto the right cores. And so what I'm going to demonstrate here is that IL2 Korea actually has a problem. Windows, its scheduler or its game bar don't have any idea about this game, in that they don't know that it's a game. The worst case so far in IL2 Korea is the Black Thursday mission. Black Thursday was when a whole bunch of B-29 bombers were attacked by a wave of MiG-15s. In this case, it's interesting because it stresses out IL2 Korea severely. The Reba Tuner server, each CPU is actually a thread. So it's going to be 1 through 15. That's going to be our X3D 8 cores that we want the game to be scheduled on. And the lower 8 are the frequency cores, which normally goes to anything that's not a game. All right, so keep an eye on the middle number next to the GPU, that 100%. That's the utilization of the GPU. So 100% is good. That means that we're GPU bound. That's actually what we want. You know, at this point, the CPU is not really causing a problem. CPU is in good shape, even though the threads are getting scheduled onto the wrong cores. And we're not getting horrible frame rates, around 100 now that we're off the ground anyway. Raise our gear. Also look at our 1% low. 75 for a 1% low, that's pretty good. But you'll see in the next phase, that's gonna change pretty quickly. All right, here we are. We got a lot of wingmen around us already. Frame rates are still pretty good, even though the 1% low, that's crashed already to 16 frames per second. That is an indicator along with the utilization of the GPU. Look at this, we're at 90. We're already CPU bound. But it's really when the bombers get into our localized sphere around us that you're gonna see it really crash. We're just gonna fly straight through them and
capture started.
We'll get a capture. Now what's interesting is that it's not what's in our screen space, it's what's localized to the plane. So you'll see that as these bombers go past us, even though our GPU, wow, it got as low as 12% there, we're still getting hammered. The CPU is still in really bad shape. And 1% low is in the 40s, average is in the 60s. 60 is not terrible, I mean, but by modern standards, it's not ideal. Especially in a sim, but we do have VRR, so.
Capture finished.
All right, our capture is done. Okay, so how do we fix this scheduling problem? So the first thing that we want to do is hit Windows G. It brings up this overlay. This is the Windows game bar. The most important thing is this settings button here. Go in here, go into more settings, go into general. So you see this, remember this is a game button. We need to make sure this is toggled on. By default, I found this off. I'm suspecting this is going to be the default for most people until the profiles are updated in the game bar. So just make sure this is ticked on, and then from that point on, the game bar is going to detect whenever this game is active and then put Windows 11's scheduler in the correct mode. And that mode is to park the frequency cores. That's going to cause Windows to schedule all of the threads onto the gaming cores, which is what we want. So at that point, we can just press Windows G again, or first close that out. And all right, there's one more thing that we have to check. And so we're gonna Alt-Tab. All right, so here's my power options menu. This is the other critical setting that we have to make sure is turned on, and that sets the power plan to balanced. Now this is critical. If you do not have this, then Windows 11 won't have the ability to park the cores. So if it's set to, say, high performance or ultimate performance, Windows 11 can't park those cores, and therefore the threads aren't going to get scheduled onto the vcache cores like we want them to. So make sure that this is set to balanced. You'll see in my menu, I don't even have the other options. I've removed those just to prevent anything from forcing those in the background or whatever. So yeah, make sure this is set to balanced, and then you should be good to go. All right, so we restarted the game here, and you can see already that the lower indexed CPUs, the ones that are on that X3D vcache, are the cores that are actually being used. So that's a good sign. Let's see if this changes our performance at all though. All right, we're back with their B29 friends, and GPU is still at 100%, but saw that before. It's not until we get close that it really matters. It's usually when that red target box shows up. Yeah, there we go. All right, so I'm going to record. Still CPU bound. The GPU is in the 60s. Let's hop into CapFrame X and see how that looks. All right, here we are in CapFrame X. This is a really handy tool for this kind of thing. So we have X3D on the top, frequency on the bottom, and you can see right off the bat that our average FPS is almost 25% better. You'll see that our 1% is actually a little bit better on the X3D, only 6%, not a ton, and 0.2 percentile is at 103. And if the red is the X3D and the green is the frequency. Now, of course, this isn't perfect because I'm flying, right? This isn't on rails, but this is frame time, so lower is better. And then we're getting a percentile down here on the bottom that's just much cleaner. This kind of shape in general, where it goes up and then flattens out, goes up again, and you get these kind of weird shapes. That's not a healthy frame time percentile graph. So yeah, like this doesn't solve the CPU boundness in IL2 Korea, but it definitely helps. So yeah, if you have a CPU like this, give this a try. Again, you just got to go into that game bar, tell the game bar to remember that, hey, this is a game. And then it's going to know to park those frequency cores and throw everything onto your vcache cores. And you should get at least slightly better performance. Okay, so to recap, if you have an asymmetric CPU with vcache, just set your Windows plane to balance and make sure that Windows game bar knows that IL2 creates a game. You should be good to go. And I wanted to mention that this is the first flight sim content on this channel. The primary goal of this channel was always to cover hybrid simulator setups that are intended for both flight simulators and simulation. So I've always intended to get some flight sim content on here. But yeah, let me know what you guys think I should cover in the comments, especially if that includes more IL2 Korea. We also have some new DCS content coming out, F14 BU. Should be here any day now. All right, thanks, and have a good one.